Hi everyone, you're all welcome back to my channel. A big thank you to all my subscribers. You guys are amazing. And if this is your first time of being here, thank you for joining us. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how I made this snatched waist palazzo jumpsuit with pleats. If this is a style you're interested in learning, stay connected and let's get started. I used 3 yards of this crepe fabric to achieve my jumpsuit. If you want a more voluminous jumpsuit, you can use 3.5 to 4 yards of crepe or your choice of fabric. So now I'll go ahead to fold my fabric. I'm going to start by drafting out the front part of the jumpsuit first. I'm going to be leaving 4 inches from the middle point. All right, I'll be marking out 4 inches from the top down to the hem of my fabric. These 4 inches that we are marking out is going to be used for our crotch extension. I will go on to connect all the points, the dots I made together using a ruler. I'll go on and place my tape at my starting line, and I'll take all my vertical measurement, my bust point of 12 inches, my waist point of 18 inches. And then I will take my hip point of 8 inches. All right, from the top is 26 inches. From my waist, my hip point is 8 inches. I'll go on and rule a straight line across the point. Next, I'll be taking my crotch length, which is also crotch depth. From my waist point, I'll come down by 13.5 inches. My actual crotch length is 12.5 inches, but I added 1 inch because I'm making a free jumpsuit. Okay, to achieve your crotch length, sit on a flat surface just like you're seeing on the screen and place your tape from your waist right down to the surface of what you're sitting on. Remember, I'm taking all my measurement from that line, that 4 inches line we made. The length of this jumpsuit is 60 inches. This is the entire length of my fabric. I'm using the entire length for the jumpsuit. I'll go on and take my shoulder measurement. I'm working with a shoulder of 16 inches divided by 2, which is 8 inches. I'll go on and take my neck width of 3 inches and neck depth of 6 inches for the front. I'll rule a line connecting the dots. Then after this, I'm going to be taking my sleeve length. Right from my shoulder point of 8 inches, I'll take my sleeve length, which is 10 inches. I want my sleeve length to be 10 inches. And then I'll add extra 1.5 inches for folding to hem the edge of my sleeve. I'll go on and mark it right there. Then at that point, I'll be coming down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant. I'll go on and take my sleeve opening. I'll be using 10 inches. So from that shoulder slant, I'll come down by 10 inches. I'll rule a line connecting it. Then I'll take my round bust measurement, my round waist measurement, and my hip measurement. I'm working with bust of 40 inches divided by 4, which is 10 inches. I'll add extra 1 inch for sewing allowance. And then from that extra 1 inch, I'll go on and add 6 inches, extra 6 inches. I'll also go on and divide my waist measurement by 4 inches and also add extra 1 inch for sewing allowance and then 6 inches. Alright, this 6 inches is going to be used to create the pleat at the waistline. And then to my hip measurement, I'll divide my hip measurement by 4. Hip of 42 inches, which will give me 10.5. And I'll also add 1 inch for sewing allowance. From that 1 inch point, I'll be marking 7 inches. At this point, this is where you're able to determine the volume you want around your hip. You can go as high as 9 inches, 10 inches, depend on what you want. So I used 7 inches here. So I'll go right down to my crotch length, my crotch point there. And I'm going to be replacing what I have at my hip right at the crotch. Everything at my hip together is 19 inches. I replaced it at my crotch length. So now I'll go on to curve my armhole into my bust point. I'll curve it and connect it to my waistline, to my waist point, and then to the hip. And I'm going to be taking it down to the hem of my jumpsuit. I'll be replacing the 19 inches at my hip right down at the hem of my jumpsuit as well. So I'll go on and roll it all the way down. After this, I'm going to be marking out my crotch extension. Now to achieve my crotch extension, I'm going to be dividing what I have at my hip. Remember, the actual hip measurement is 10.5 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance, making it 11.5. So that 11.5 is what I'm going to be dividing by 4, and it's going to give me around 2.8. I'll just approximate it and make it 3 inches. So at my crotch extension, I'm going to be using 3 inches at that point. I'll go on and rule a line connecting it, and then I'll come out from that edge by 1.5 so that my crotch curve is not so deep, and I went ahead to create the curve right there. Now I'll go on to mark out my sewing allowance of 1 inch at that point. So I'll be marking 1 inch all the way to the crotch curve. This will serve as my sewing allowance. And I'm also adding this 1 inch as sewing allowance around the crotch as well. And then at the thigh side, I'm also adding my 1 inch sewing allowance. Just go on and watch how I'm going about this whole process. It's going to be easier. So at the end of the crotch, we have 4 inches. That's plus our 1 inch sewing allowance. So now I'm going to be creating the back neckline, neck depth, because I'll be using this exact front pattern to cut out for the back. My neck depth for the back will be 1.5 inches, while the neck width remains 3 inches with the front. So now I'll go on to extend it out and also extend that 1 inch for zipper allowance. So that 1 inch allowance is going to serve as zipper allowance for the back, while it's going to be sewing allowance for the front. Then I'll go on to add my 1/2 inch sewing allowance at the top, at the shoulder. I'll go on and cut out my front pattern. I've gone ahead to fold another fabric which I'll be using to cut out the back part of my jumpsuit. I placed the front pattern on it. The sides are the same. The only alteration I'll be making here is at the crotch extension. So I'll be replacing the 3 inches I got at the front crotch extension at the back. I'll be marking out 3 inches there. Remember, we already added sewing allowance to the front. So I'll be ruling my line, connecting it. I'll step down by 1/2 inch because the back crotch is a bit slopey than that of the front. Then I'll go on to add 1 inch sewing allowance to the lap area, to the thigh area of my jumpsuit. And then take note not to make that curve where I'm ruling right now as deep as this. I noticed mine was a bit too deep. Okay, so I'll go on and cut out. We're basically done. I'll cut out the neck part, after which I'll take it up and cut the front neckline. I'm done cutting out the front and the back, so I'll remove the back now, and then I will cut out my front neckline. So this is the front part of our jumpsuit. Next, I'm going to be creating our pleats. Okay, to create a pleat, I'm going to mark out my underbust, which is 16 inches. I placed my tape at the shoulder and I came down by 16 inches to mark out the underbust. The pleat starts from the underbust. Now at that point of the underbust, I'll come down by 5 inches. Initially, I came down by 7 in this video, but I corrected that because I noticed it was a bit too long and I reduced it to 5 inches. So I came down from the underbust by 5 inches. Then from the start line, from that 1 inch line, I came in by 2.5 inches. This 2.5 is going to serve as the difference between our darts at the midsection. Then from that 2.5, I'm going to be taking my dart of 2 inches. Alright, I'm taking my dart of 2 inches. Then after this, I'm going to take 1 inch. Okay, that's dart number 1. I'm going to take 1 inch, which is going to serve as the separation between dart number 1 and dart number 2. So I'm going to mark out this 1 inch so that you know that it's not a dart, it's a separation. So from that 1 inch, I'll mark 2 inches for my dart. All right, so this is dart number 2. Then I'll go on and mark 1 inch for my dart separation. So I'll also mark it there so you know it's for separation. Then from that 1 inch, I'll take out another 2 inches for my dart. Okay, So remember the 6 inches we left, that is what we are using to mark out our dart now. So that is dart number 3. All right, so you can see the first part of it. I'll go over it again. I came down 16 inches from my shoulder, which is my underbust. Make use of your own underbust. Then at that middle line, I came in by 2.5. All right, which is going to serve as the separation from the midsection. Then from that 2.5 inches, I came out by 2 inches, which will serve as my dart. Then 1 inch for my dart separation. Then another 2 inches for my dart. And then another 1 inch, which will serve as dart separation. Then another 2 inch for the dart. So I'm going to be replacing this dart at the back. All right, so I've also gone ahead to create my dart line at the back part of my jumpsuit. Then at the midsection, the waist point for the back, I came in by 1/2 inch to eliminate zipper bulge at the waist section. So I'll go on and cut it out. So this is going to serve as the new zipper allowance. The 1/2 inch I took, I just replaced it right there. So that's how to eliminate zipper bulge. So I've gone ahead to sew my dart. You can see how it's looking at the wrong face. The 2 inches I marked, I just held it up. So 1 inch at each side of that sewing. And this is the middle part. I've also gone ahead to stitch it all the way down to the crotch point. Before the edge of my crotch, I left 1 inch there for joining. And then I went ahead to cut out interfacing for the front. You can also use bias. Okay, you can use bias. So this is the back part of my jumpsuit. I've also gone ahead to sew my dart, my pleats. I've gone ahead to make the pleats there as well. And then I made my sewing from like 19 inches, which I left for my zipper allowance. And then from that point, I sewed down to the crotch point. And I also went ahead to turn the neckline of the back part of my jumpsuit. So after making my pleats and adding my zipper allowance, I'll go on and connect at the shoulder, the front at the back. Right face facing each other, I will sew it down at the shoulder. After sewing it down at the shoulder, I will use 1.5 inches to hem my sleeve. Remember, I have sleeve of 10 inches. If you want your sleeve to be longer, you can go as much as 16-15 inches, but you need more fabric, which will be around 3.5 inches or 4 yards or 3.5 yards for it to be enough. So now I'll go on to sew my sides and also attach my pocket. I'll be linking a video up on how to make a shield dress. In that video, I explain vividly how to cut out your pockets. I'll also put that video in the description box. So for this pocket, I want you to start from where my pleats end. Okay, so from that point, I'll come down by 8 inches because my pocket opening is 8 inches. I'll do same thing at the other part of my jumpsuit, and I'll go on to sew using 1 inch from the sleeve, and I'll stop at that notched point. I'll backstitch it there and then continue sewing. Also on my pocket, I left 1 inch, and what I'll be doing is to attach it this way. All right, and I will sew it all the way down. I'll also sew the other side like this. So next is to go on and sew the inseam, the crotch part of my jumpsuit. All right, I'll go on and use 1 inch to sew it all the way down, beginning from the crotch point. I'll do same thing with the other part of the leg. I'm done sewing it, and this is how beautiful our snatched waist jumpsuit is looking. You can see how the pleats came out. You can see how snatched the waistline is looking. This is the pocket. This is our jumpsuit. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. Thank you for staying tuned to this point. See you guys. See you all in my next video. Bye.